Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Hunter Doohan about Wednesday, premiering worldwide November 23rd on Netflix. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Peter. I'm excited to chat about the show with you.
I'm so excited to chat with you. This is so crazy because I remember when this project, Hunter, was announced. Cast, long before you were cast for this. You know what I mean? It was announced and I was pumped, and it's coming out soon. Has it hit you that it's is coming out soon?
I don't know if it fully has yet, because I've been, it's been a long journey for me too. I remember it was February, 2021.
Yeah.
And I got the first audition for it. And then, I did a tape, and then I didn't hear anything for months.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden on a random Monday, they were like, hey, at the end of the week, you're going to do a test and you're going to have a chemistry with Jen Ortega and Tim Burton's going to be there. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So,
and I remember the timing of it, correct me if I'm wrong, it was you got announced for Wednesday, kind of around the time where people started they wrapped Your Honor, basically, right? It was around people watched Your Honor and then saw Hunter Doohan's on Wednesday. Was it that? What was the...
They weren't that close together. There was probably 5 or 6 months between Your Honor ending and then Wednesday.
I feel like that show, though, Your Honor, just people kept going. There were some people that just got word of mouth and saw it when it came out, and then a lot of people went afterwards. So that had a good shelf life, I feel like.
Yeah, and it definitely had it in other countries too. Because I was in Romania shooting Wednesday, and then over Christmas break I traveled around with my now husband, but we went around to Finland and Spain and Italy, and here in the US I don't have people really come up to me ever for Your Honor, but I everywhere we went there, someone would come up to me and say how much they loved Your Honor. So that was crazy to see, and that was a year and a half after it'd come out.
That's so crazy. Yeah, no, it's crazy with everything. But with Wednesday, I'm so excited for people to see it. I feel like for all the actors that are involved with this show, including yourself, it's a very unique situation for a storyteller like yourself, because I feel like there's familiar territory and unfamiliar territory at the same time with Wednesday, because we know the Addams family, we know Wednesday Addams, we're familiar with that, but we don't know the world that we're going to be kind of diving into on November 23rd. You know what I mean by that? We don't know Nevermore Academy. We don't know a lot of the characters. So it's familiar territory and unfamiliar territory at the same time. Do you notice that? Have you thought about that at all with this project? It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it exciting, because usually, I know for me, Wednesday was always one of my favorite characters, especially in the 90s movies. Mm-hmm. Christina Ricci, she's so good. But to finally get Wednesday front and center, and as good as those one-liners are, it's not just that. Now she's leading the show, and we get to see her in so many different scenarios and on her own without the Addams family around her. And it's really, because my character doesn't go to the magical school that she goes to, so I'm just in town. So it's really fun to watch her come and interact with just all the normies, as they're talking about.
Yeah, the Tyler Wednesdays at scenes are its own little show almost. You know what I mean?
I know. I felt we would all hang out offset a lot, and then onset I would feel so isolated from them, because they all have their fun group scenes, and in episode 2 there's the Poe Cup, and so they all trained for rowing and fencing in the pilot, and I was man, I'm
sorry, man. I'm just a barista. I don't know what to tell you.
And I asked about that, but they were like, "Oh no, you're supposed to be a bad barista." When we meet me, the machine's exploding. So
people see you on the people, because I'm telling you right now, the Halloween costumes and the cosplays that are gonna come from this is gonna be insane with the Nevermore Academy uniforms.
Oh my god, they're amazing. And we had Colleen Atwood, 3 or 4 time Oscar winner, doing the costumes, who's worked with Tim a bunch. So
does it start when you find out did you find all at once Colleen, Tim, Danny, or was it kind of waves of these announcements where it was like, oh my goodness.
It was waves. It was like, I knew about Tim and Jenna going into it. And then, Alan Miles, the show creators, obviously loved them from like Smallville.
Yeah.
But then everyone, the cast announcements kept coming out. We're like, oh my God, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Oh my God, Gwendolyn Christie. And then Colleen Atwood wanted to, have a FaceTime about costumes. And then hearing Danny Elfman's going to come on to do the score. It's just like, this thing just kept gaining momentum. And it was just a lot. It was so much. It was so cool.
Is it really cool specifically? This is the only kind of big kind of like plot thing that I'm going to bring up right now, but it's not spoilers, right? But like people are going to meet your character Tyler, and Tyler seems to be one of the only characters, Wednesday Addams, sometimes seems like she can't show emotion and she doesn't care for a lot of people sometimes, which is a lot like not the truth in a lot of ways that you're going to see in Wednesday. I feel like Tyler is that character that brings in those kind of emotions and kind of makes Wednesday care. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, what's that like playing a character that has that kind of relationship with Wednesday, knowing that about the emotions and everything? It's interesting.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was difficult just trying to figure out how to map, obviously from Tyler's point of view, he's trying to be her potential love interest. He does, and then Xavier as well. But Wednesday's kind of not that interested in either of them, which I think is the funny take on this teen trope. But
it's like a love triangle that's not really a love triangle.
Yeah, except that one at the center is not really caring about either side. But it was fun because then it was I think for my way in was once Tyler starts to understand Wednesday and then he starts finding all of her things charming, and everything she tries to do to kind of push him away just kind of charms me more, and I want to get to know her more. And we learned pretty quickly in the first episode that they have a shared history with our parents hating each other. And I have such a bad relationship with my dad that I'm like, anybody my dad hates gets points in my book.
It's funny, and I'm wondering if you noticed that when you read the script, we're kind of thrown in right away with Tyler. We learned so much about it, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, this guy is very involved with the story. Do you notice that when you're reading the script for it too?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the character.
No, but it was quick is what I mean. We dive right into it with Tyler. The first time we see your character.
I think you kind of have to because, you don't meet him until halfway through that first episode because I think he's, one of the last characters that's around for the season that she meets.
Yeah.
Because she's in school and does all that first. And so it kind of felt like, oh, yeah, and this guy, and this is how he ties in.
One of my favorite things about this show is there literally is something for everyone in this show. There's so many age groups are going to be able to enjoy this show. It's funny, it's dark, it's got the fantasy aspect of things, it's got an amazing score, amazing soundtrack. Is that one of the things you're starting to work on it and everything, and you're like, wow, this do you start thinking about things like that? There's something for everyone with Wednesday.
Definitely. Yeah. That's so cool. What's so cool about it is that it kind of, just because she's in high school, some people have kind of labeled it as a teen show, but then there's all these adult characters too. And, people of all ages are familiar with the Addams Family and want to see what Wednesday's up to. There's also a new age. We've never seen Wednesday at this age, except for in the musical that they did on, I think, but not in the movies or TV shows. But it was interesting to find the tone of the show. I'll say that. Yeah. Because it does have so much. And I was the scripts are really funny, but there was also a lot of darkness in them. And I was so thrilled when I watched it to see how funny it came out.
And also, from my perspective, I'm going to be honest with you, even the characters that are, might be the antagonists, right? The ones that you're not supposed to you know what I mean? You really care about all the characters, which is so important. You're interested in Tyler, you're interested in Xavier, you're interested in these characters right
Bianca,
away.
Who's the adversary at the school. It's oh wait, who's that girl? She's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just the fact that these arcs are so like drawn out for these characters, right? Like when you're reading the script, you can notice there's big arcs and journeys instantly with these characters, Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's all credit to Alan Miles. I mean, we got a great cast, but Alan Miles are just like kings of television. I don't know how many episodes of TV they've worked on by now.
Yeah, but, there's a lot for sure.
Yeah. The scripts were so good and so tight, and
you know what, like there's definitely some moments in the show that have like the spooky season kind of horror thriller aspect of things, but it's so much more than that too. The show also has a lot of heart as well, but kind of honing in a little bit on like the spooky horror kind of component of it. What is it like for you as an actor working in that realm, in that like landscape of horror and thriller and spooky stuff, knowing that there's such a big appetite for it right now? Like those are the biggest releases of all time right now.
I mean, it was a lot of fun whenever, like, again, I didn't get to do, especially up front, a lot of the, fantasy elements of the show.
It's got some moments. It's got some moments.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, it's like, that's when it kind of hit me when I did the scene where Thing comes to my house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my scene partner is just a hand. This guy.
Oh, like the FaceTime. That's the best.
And it was so much fun. And I was working with Tim Burton. And I was like, holy shit, how did I get into this?
Danny Elfman did the score, man.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
that's nuts.
It's like such a dream job. I don't know what else to even say about it.
Is that your favorite thing about being a storyteller, though? Like diving into the worlds of Your Honor or Wednesday? Is that the best part? Basically, like transforming into these worlds?
Yeah. And, Your Honor was great because it was like hyper realistic and like super dark and dealing with like themes and issues of like that are really relevant to today. But then Wednesday, it was like a whole new challenge because all of a sudden you have to talk about monsters and people with telekinesis and like try to make that believable and grounded in our world. So it was just like a fun new challenge. I'd never worked on anything that was like that had those elements to it.
Are you starting to prepare yourself that it's going to be dropping on Netflix? And, we know Netflix's amazing global power of so many people get to watch it, but how quick it is. Like it's going to drop and you're going to wake up the next morning and because of all the different time zones, there's going to be people that already binged it. Like it's crazy.
It's almost infuriating because we started shooting it September 2021 and people are going to watch it in like an afternoon and it's going to be done.
Oh man. Does also like, it's interesting because you do mention your character is not like at Nevermore and everything, but there's some moments where there's a little bit they're gonna see like some crossovers and stuff, and there might or might not be.
Yeah,
there might not be a school dance, all that stuff. You know what I mean? But like, talk a little bit about kind of the aesthetic aspect of the show. Like, what was it like, kind of seeing the sets in Romania? Like, what was that aspect like?
The sets were insane. I mean, well, because even the like normal stuff, using air quotes here. Like the town of Jericho, all of that had to be built because over in Romania it just doesn't look like a small New England town. So they had to build like a whole like city, couple square blocks. And I was always just like, my jaw was just hitting the floor about like the scale of every set that I walked into. I mean, like the Nightshades library, I remember sneaking a photo of that when I like and I think that my first day on set, I was actually off camera just reading lines when Jenna and I have a phone call, and I got to see the dorm room, and it was just, I was like, oh my God, this is so massive, and there's just so much detail and everything. And and Tim has such a good eye, obviously, and he's so detail oriented when it comes to the shots and framing, and I was just like, and I was blown away again when I got to see the episodes and how beautiful they are.
We're going to drop this by the time the episodes are out. But yeah, there's a dance and everything. The mayor's son drives me nuts.
The mayor's son? Oh, Amon, yeah.
Man, and Amon does such an amazing job because that's like the point, right? But, there's so many characters that just cause so much, like, they cause so much conflict when they're like, it's like, no, like, I want this storyline. And it's like, like, you're just rooting everything.
I know. I think that's how like you're supposed to feel too, because that's how Wednesday feels. She's like, I'm trying to solve this murder, and you guys keep doing all this other
And
stupid
I feel
stuff.
like, man, that role, although it's like that role, like a mom plays like the mayor's son.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is in the show.
Lucas.
Lucas. That's like a really like cool arc. Like it really is, because there's this
Yeah.
push and pull. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you meet him, and at first he's just like a jerk, and then like all the other characters, you get to know him and see why he's acting the way he is and what's
Yeah.
really going on with him. And Amon's just really talented
Yeah.
too.
And Tyler's arc is interesting because there's mystery. It's like he's nice, he's awkward, maybe too nice. Maybe it's like, you know what I mean? But then it's kind of like, no, he's a good guy.
Well, we meet him when he's kind of like, I always use a term, I don't even know if this makes sense, reformed bully, because things have like gone on in the last year with him.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I was a week and a half ago since I watched the episode. So yes, there's that history with Xavier. Yes.
Yeah, and
okay, we're definitely putting this out after the 23rd.
Okay. We can talk about whatever. Yeah, so I think when like you meet him, it's like he's trying to change and be different, and then he kind of has to admit a lot of that stuff to Wednesday.
The show's too packed, Hunter. It's too packed. There's too much going on. I completely forgot about that.
I thought that's what you were getting at.
No, but like it's like he's misunderstood for sure. That kind of comes in, but it's kind of like almost like, what if Xavier is like blowing it out of proportion, right? Because Xavier has this like he has this demeanor that he might be a bully at times, or he might be something. You know what I mean by that? There is that push and pull with those two characters.
Yeah, there's a mutual hate between, all of us in town and the kids in Evermore, and then, they hate us right back.
Yeah, because I feel like Wednesday, and Jenna does an amazing job with this, that scene where Percy confronts her about Tyler, there is that like, I don't know if I believe you. You know what I mean? Like there is that like guard, you know what I mean?
Totally. She calls him out in that scene for, being an entitled rich kid.
So good. It's dropping on November 23rd. By the time this interview is out, people are able to see the episodes. We didn't get into big spoilers, but there's going to be a lot of it with this.
I think we're safe.
I think it would irritate the viewer though. Be like, what are they talking about? Like if it came out like on the 20th or something.
Yeah.
When people get a chance to watch Wednesday, what are you hoping they get out of it takeaway wise, Hunter?
Oh man, there's a lot of like cool themes about people hating what they don't understand, and also just like embracing the weird parts of yourself and like finding your people. But I gotta say, just like overall, I just hope people are like super entertained and hooked on it as like much as I was when I was reading the script.
I can't wait for people to see it. November 23rd, streaming worldwide on Netflix. Hunter, thank you for joining me on Popternative. It was so great chatting with you.
Yeah, so great chatting with you. Thank you.
Your Instagram account is just your name, right? Hunter Doohan?
Yep.
You can check that out. And they're going to be able to catch you as Tyler in Wednesday, November 23rd on Netflix. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative, previous episodes. Until next time, this is Hunter Doohan and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.